a man in Indiana has done something amazing.
Cabe Sipes has done the impossible.
Cabe Sipes is on a whole different level, man.
Just successfully integrated the first audio system into a 2025 Ram on the new platform.
To have the confidence to just attack a $140,000 vehicle like that, just crazy.
If I am not mistaken, this is the first in the world.
What's up? It's Cabe Sipes from Custom Audio Reimagined, and it's finally time to show you this 2025 Ram 3500, which has taken up so much of my life and my time. Unbelievable. Now, why has this vehicle been such a pain in the butt? Well, because this is a true 2025 Ram 3500 Longhorn Edition dually short bed mega cab. This is apparently the first one in the United States, and this is definitely the first one that's been fully integrated with its audio system in the world. I can guarantee you that. This thing has been a complete nightmare, and that is because this is on a whole new platform. What that means is your platform is kind of like your operating system. You have Windows, you have Apple. Well, all your vehicles have a CAN bus network. This is the layman's explanation for people that aren't installers. So if you're an installer, just go ahead and tune me out. Your CAN bus network runs on software, runs on operating systems. That's what communicates to all your modules. And what companies do is they make interfaces that allow us to add features to vehicles, amplifiers, audio equipment that will integrate into those networks so that there's no problems. You don't get check engine lights, you don't get crazy tones and beeps and hums. And that's the whole point of the aftermarket industry, is to have those parts available for people like me to be able to integrate into your new vehicle. Problem is, when a new platform comes out, nobody has anything for it. And depending on how complicated the platform is, it could be a very long time, if ever, depending on the vehicle, if it is going to be covered. Now, when this job was presented to me, and we originally were quoting it, everyone was under the assumption that there was an interface. Everyone was under the assumption that the Amp Pro would work on the 2500s and 3500s, and that the 1500s were on the new platform, but they hadn't rolled it out on the 25s and 35s. So we designed the entire system off of that idea. Too bad it didn't work, which left me with a tremendous amount of audio control equipment on my shelf that was supposed to go into this vehicle, but never will. Because once I got the truck in here, pulled off the door panels, and then pulled the radio and went to put in the Amp Pro, found out real quick it wasn't communicating and it wasn't doing what it's supposed to, which instantly made me say, oh no, because the one thing I did not want to do, channel for channel, integrate into this vehicle. And that's what we had to do. And if you don't know what that is, again, installers, here comes another lame explanation, but for people that don't know, channel for channel is when your car has like a factory amplifier in it. You know the old school high-low level ways you used to tap into your rear 6x9s to your subs and you did the high-low level converter? Same concept, except you have to do it for every channel coming out of the amplifier. Because if you miss one or you do any sums or anything, what's gonna happen is your backup sensors, when they beep, well, if it's going through a speaker and you sum it to another channel, now you have beeps going all over the place. It's just, you have to keep it all like a highway. So all the channels are a road, and you need to keep all those highways correct, and you'll feed them in to a DSP, a processor, that you can then manipulate and send out to amplifiers, and that's kind of the basic layman way to do it. This thing, we had to go channel for channel, which, okay, you're thinking no big deal, channel for channel, what's a big deal, Cabe? Woo, 4 channels, I mean, there's 4 speakers in a car, right? Oh, wrong, you silly bastard. New cars have up to 35 speakers in them. This car has 19 channels. You have a positive and negative. 19 times 2, what we got? 38. That's 38 wires just for the channel for channel coming out of the amp. But then you also have 38 wires you got to send back up to the amp because you got to hit the output side of the amplifier to feed the speakers. So it turns into a pretty good, significant size of wire harnesses, and it's a lot of work. You never know if it's gonna work. You don't know until you're all done if everything's gonna work or if you're gonna run into an issue with chimes and blah, blah. So, long story short, found out this thing wasn't gonna work and had to order all new equipment because the audio control wouldn't do what I need to do. Now, most shops probably would have just said, kick it, it's a wash. I see it as a challenge and it's here, might as well. I already took the door panels off, that's what I told myself. I'd already took the door panels off, that's all that was off, and I'd pulled the radio out. So in my head, I was like, well, I've already started it. What could I do? Can't turn it away now. So in the end, what did this turn into? What did it become? Go ahead and run down the numbers. I've been working on this truck for 47 days. That's the longest I've ever had a vehicle in this shop. I have over 1,000 feet of wire. So this is technically the largest electrical build I've ever done in my entire career by myself. Created over 18 custom harnesses so this truck would work, plug and play. Nothing has been tapped. I tapped into one wire in the entire vehicle. Overhead is where I grab my accessory, which energizes a relay. That is the only place I'm tapped. Everything else in this vehicle is 100% plugs. You can unplug it, put it all back to factory, no issues. And that's what took so much effort and time, but it's so worth it because in the future, is he gonna have problems with this truck? Of course he is. It's the first year that they're doing a new platform. This thing's gonna have 85 recalls in the first year, you know it is. Every time it goes back to RAM, if they run into an issue with my wiring or think there's something going on that's my fault, you can unplug what I did, plug the factory plug right back in, and I'm out of the picture. So much so that I built my own electrical system. It has its own 12-volt system. Up under the hood, I have a 300 amp breaker. If you kick that breaker, it completely removes everything that I did to this truck. So all of these things I had to do is what kind of took so much time, and I had a lot of people riding me about how long it was taking, but there's a reason for it. I have over 500 soldered connections, over 80 feet of heat shrink, over 80 feet of labeled heat shrink from my dyno label maker, and I have burnt through almost all of the materials in my shop. I have no wire left. I have no heat shrink left. I used over 1,000 zip ties. I have no zip ties left. There is no wiring. Nobody has any information. So I had to ID every wire in this truck. This truck, if you haven't caught on, was a huge job. And there was one more curveball before I start showing you the install. One more crazy curveball. He has 2 prosthetic arms. I mean, curveball, man. Total curveball. I'm not gonna get into what it was, but it was a work injury. So when I first met him, I assumed military, but it was a work injury. And I was like, cool, enough said. What are your limitations and what do I need to do? So on top of doing the full build in here, everything I did, I had to build in a way that he can do. They're like hooks or like these clamp things. He has attachments, he has like hand attachments and stuff, but he told me he doesn't like them because they're so heavy, which makes sense because there's servos and actuators, but they're really cool. He can control them with his brain. That being said, dials, touchscreens, things like that were not an option. So there were a lot of features on this truck that I wanted to do and I couldn't because they would not work within what his lifestyle is. So right off the bat, you can see this thing has a full lift, wheels. I mean, it's got all kinds of stuff going on. All of this was done by a shop called Knockout Customs, and they did a really good job. From what I can tell, everything looks solid on here. There's only a couple things that I don't like that they did, but that's because I don't like the things. And that's, it has train horns. So underneath the rear end, they did this full powder coated cage that has an air compressor, and it has the biggest, nastiest train horns. And man, I hate train horns so much. They're just so loud. And when you accidentally hit them in your shop, wow, it sucks. And there it is with the rock lights. Like I said, I did not do the rock lights, so I don't want to take any credit from another shop. They did all the rock lights, and there are a lot of them on here. It is everywhere throughout this vehicle are the rock lights. Right off the bat, this is the Longhorn Edition, which is a beautiful interior. This truck has a huge story behind it, and there's no way I have time to share the story. Let's just say you'll never see this again. This is a one of one. This truck was not supposed to be built. It was not supposed to be built the way it's built, and there's a lot of crazy things going on with it. But this is a beautiful interior. It's got gold accents, barnwood, you got fabric, leather. It's just nice. So first things, the speakers. I did the speakers on custom white acrylic plates. On the white acrylic plates, there's engravings. There's my shop logo, there's the Ram logo, and then I added LEDs that are wired into the door triggers. So whenever you open your doors, all of the lights light up and all the speakers are glowing throughout the vehicle. Then as the courtesy lights shut out, they shut off with it. What we have in the dash, we have the Audiocontrol 3.5-inch coaxials that have been snipped and running active. So this truck, everything in it's active. So the dash tweeters and the woofers were all separate and active. The center channel, separate, active, everything. So I had to go along with the same thing. Remember, channel for channel. So I took the coaxials, cut the tweeter lines, and I'm running the tweeters active off of the amplifier and then the woofer separately, and it's active. Then over in the doors, we have a set of Audiocontrol tweeters. And then down in the lower doors, obviously, is the Audiocontrol 6.5-inch woofer, which is part of the component set. Again, no passive crossovers, everything is running active. The radio in this is the big new Tesla screen, whatever you want to call it, giant monster. And you may notice on the new trucks over here, they now have a TV for the passenger. So that's a TV with Hulu, Netflix. It actually even has an HDMI input right down here for it, so you could play games. And that has a special privacy glass on it, so the driver can't see the screen, which is why that's able to be done and makes it legal. So up here in the front, one of the things I did is the custom switch plate. So this truck was supposed to have upfitter switches, and when he brought it to me, there were no switches here. Come to find out that the upfitter switches are not available yet for the 2025. So what's here is just a blank plate. So what I did was I took the plate, lasered out acrylic plate on top here. So that's labeled horn, and that is why it is red and big, because that's the train horns. We have rock lights, the audio systems lights, and then the bed speakers. So this turns on the 6-channel amplifier that is running independently to the bed speakers you'll see later. I had to do things so that he could actually do them himself. And he wouldn't be able to push buttons if he has the hook attachments. So the rocker switches allow him to easily be able to hit those and rock them. And then the button, obviously, very easy if he hits that. If I hit that right now, it would go off and scare the hell out of me. That came out very nice. I like the way that looks. It's very clean. And if anybody's wondering, this apparently is a trailer steering dial. So apparently you can turn this and steer your trailer. I don't know how that works, but if you push that button in the middle, it recenters your trailer. That is why you can't get 5 upfitter switches in the new Ram. You can only get 3 because this dial takes up 2 of those slots. So now moving up to the overhead console, the sunglass holder was the perfect place for me to put the conductors. Now the conductors are the controllers for the Helix amplifiers and DSPs in the back. So this is his sub control, and the right one is his master volume for the bed speakers. Came out really nice. I originally had it as like a black acrylic. I didn't like it. It was just making me, I don't know, it was too shiny. So I redid it. I flocked it like it was on the interior. That is being held in. It's all magnetic. So there's nothing screwed in. There's no holes or anything. It's all magnetically clipped in there. I could pull it right out and it would just be a sunglass holder again. But you may notice the studs right there that I have on the dials. Those studs are so that he can easily manipulate the dials. To do these dials, he would have to like grab and clamp around, and that would be too hard. So with these little studs here, he can push with his prosthetic and just turn the dials. They just rotate smoothly. And then there's another one on this side. But I think it looks really nice and it just hides away. You can close it right up and you don't see it anymore. Moving to the back here, put in the 10.1 inch Vox tablet style radios with a DVD player. They have Netflix, Hulu, built-in smart everything. They have Wi-Fi. Pretty awesome. You can control them from your phone as well. You can mirror whatever the kid is doing back here on your phone up front. That way you can control it. You can, change the source for him if it's a young child that can't do it. But this is something he wanted for his son. This was like a really big deal. He really wanted me to put in. So that came out really nice, and I'm sure his son's gonna love that. Now in the back doors, we're running the Audiocontrol PNW 65 coaxials. So these are actually running as coaxials because there was only a coaxial back here in the door. So we didn't have to snip the tweets or do anything crazy. There was just one channel from the factory going into this door. But then they also have the ceiling speakers, which these are just basically oversized tweeters. And the reason those are here is because this has surround sound as well. So the factory amplifier has an up mixer and it has surround sound from the factory radio you can turn on and off, and it actually does work pretty well. These I left as the stock drivers. There was no reason to change them out to aftermarket because all they create is an ambient fill when you're in the surround sound mode. And then the back seats, this is what you see of the system when the seats are up, which is nothing. You can't tell there's even anything in here with the seats up, which is what the customer wanted. He didn't want this to be flashy. He only wanted white lighting. He didn't want a bunch of RGB lights in here. He wanted it to be very clean and classy and hidden away when he wanted it to be. And based on him saying that is why I designed the system the way I did. So this came out very nice, very clean. Everything looks like it belongs there, like it came from Dodge. I did some gold accents to match the gold in the doors. I've got my logo at the top there. We've got a bunch of different materials. I've got the leather that matches the trim, the plastics on the side. Then I've got some stitched leather. We've got pressed grills. So all these are custom pressed grills from the back side. Everything is threaded in. We've got the Helix logo there in the center. And this is all done with a ton of white lighting. And there's also another piece that I believe I'm going to be adding right there. That's why that's blank. It's just time. The customer's going to be picking this up, and I will probably do it and we'll add it another time. But I'm trying to do a graphical overlay, lasered out, showing the wiring of everything in this vehicle, kind of like, just a schematic, which would be very cool. This right here is the sub enclosure with the two Audiocontrol spike 10s. So this box was made by Net Audio and they sent it to me raw. I went ahead and cut these windows out, added the acrylic, painted the inside of the enclosure, did the white lighting. Over here, I added USB ports and we have it lasered there, V18 and M6. So those are the ports to access the DSPs with your laptop. We have one fuse box here. This is the accessory fuse box. This is what's handling everything when the vehicle's energized on. So the lighting for the audio system. We've got all the switches up front. Everything is being handled there. Here we have a Helix M1 that's running 1500 watts to the subs. In the center there is the Helix V18 behind that logo. That's running all the interiors and handling all of the high-level inputs and also routing all the outs. So this is routing low-level out to the sub amp for the subs. And when the vehicle is running, we added the Bluetooth card to the board, which actually gives you Toslink output. So it's running fiber optic out over to the M6 DSP. So when the vehicle's running, it's optical out from the center to the M6. And there's a reason why I'm saying it that way. You'll find out here in a minute. But over there is the M6 DSP, which is running the bed speakers. And then from this side, you can see the other fuse box. This is handling all the main powers. So we've got 0 gauge running from the front to the back here, then 4 gauge is going out to all the amplifiers, and then we also have a relay that's being powered off over here with a 10 gauge. All of this in here is removable, modular. So everything unplugs. The entire rack, which I'll run some B-roll here so you can see, is completely finished on the inside. In the future, which it looks like I found what I needed, I originally wanted these covers to be able to just pull off like magnetic, because like I said, he can't use like a screwdriver to take it apart. So I wanted to have an easy way for him to pop them off, because behind there, the amp rack is clean as hell. The wiring is perfect. I did everything in this vehicle top notch, and I wanted him to be able to show that off at shows. Unfortunately, I have every type of magnet known to man, I thought, and I have no magnets that were strong enough. This bend, the leather is so tight, it just is too much tension. I couldn't find anything to hold it. So it looks like I found what I need. So like I said, this may have a plate put here with the schematic. Well, I may also be pulling out the hardware that's holding the covers on and adding quick release pins that he can pull out and be able to remove that. But until that happens, I have the B-roll here. You can see I built this entire rack on the table in my shop. Then I carried it over to the truck. I put threads in the back wall of the truck, and then I slipped the amp rack over the studs, put the nuts on. It's all being held up, floating up there. It's not a part of the enclosure at all. They're two completely separate things. That way, I was able to plug all the custom plugs I made on the sides here. We're able to plug right in to the actual rack, as you can see in the footage. And also, all of the modules, motors, and everything on the back wall have all been relocated to the lower half below this rack. So in the future, if Ram ever has to service this vehicle and they need to replace a module on that back wall, because there's a lot of computers back there, or the back sliding glass motor or anything, with the back seats removed, so if this back seat's been removed, the sub enclosure actually slides forward and you have full access to every module in the truck. And those are the forward thinking things that make the install take so long, but it would really bite you in the butt if you needed to get a module worked on and they had to gut this entire thing. Could you imagine how much work that would be? Now I keep talking about the bed speakers. So what we got going on here in the bed, he wanted to have something, you know, to play at the shows. So what we got back here are 6 MTX mud 8-inch wake tower cans, or I don't think these are the wake tower. I think these are what they call the ATV or UTV cans, because they're not made for boats, they're made for side-by-sides. Difference being, not the big compression drivers like you see on the boats, and that is because I didn't want these to be compression. Compression drivers up close sound horrible. It's too much, it's compressed, obviously the word, so your ears can't distinguish it. The quality isn't good, but when you get 30 feet, 50 feet away, it sounds amazing. Well, this was so he could, you know, enjoy it if he wanted to go tailgating. But I wanted him to be able to enjoy it without having to have this diesel truck sitting there running, because this isn't the quietest vehicle. The exhaust on here and everything is kind of loud. So I went ahead and also did a custom circuit that diode isolates and it's relay isolating the ignition. When the ignition is on, remember I said the V18 is running the fiber optic signal into the M6. Well, when you shut the ignition off, power goes to this MTX Bluetooth system. And when you turn that on, that routes a low-level signal into the M6. And then in the M6, I was able to set it up so that it has a priority. So whatever it sees coming in. So with the vehicle running, it sees fiber optic and it runs the audio from inside the truck, whatever you're listening to. If he flips the switch on the dash, that turns on the 6-channel amp, which turns these on. The conductor on the right-hand side, because of the master volume, he can turn that up and down, and it only turns these up and down. And these get really, really loud. Then with the vehicle off, if he flips this switch, that powers this unit up. That turns on the 6-channel amplifier. The low-level signal runs through, and you can sit here and listen to these with your phone without the vehicle running. So you could be at a campfire or, you know, some kind of hangout or tailgating, and you don't have to have your truck on, and you can still have this music playing, and you're not drawing down as much current off of your battery because we're only running one amplifier with the vehicle not running. This was something I wanted to definitely do, and it wasn't the easiest thing to achieve. And the reason why, another thing, you see how this is sticking out? I built that housing around there and mounted it. Normally, you could have just, you know, cut that and flushed it right in there. Well, with his prosthetics, he wouldn't be able to reach back and get to the buttons. So I brought it out here so that he can actually still access them. And then the plugs and everything still work. As far as the bar, how it's mounted, I didn't really like the instructions it came with, which was basically non-existent. It was a one page with a picture, and it didn't even show you what to do. But it came with big screws they expected me to screw into the side of this truck. And I wasn't about to do that on this brand new truck. Those big, massive honking braces, I built those out of 1-inch thick HDPE. So those are 2 inches thick. They weigh about 20 pounds each. So I machined those out. Then I rhino lined them, put the big slot groove in there so that the pole actually drops down into it. Then the screws don't screw into the body of the truck, they screw into those plates. So I'm not penetrating the truck in any way. And I took out the tie downs that were back there, and I'm using the factory tie down bolts and holes to hold those up. So no holes were put anywhere, nothing was done that would cause any issue to the vehicle or be considered what I say ghetto, just shooting screws. So that again was another big job and a lot of work. And then getting the wiring, all the wiring comes through on a plug down there that I brought up in, and then behind there it's all strapped up. It's a lot going on. There's also RGB lights in there, which he didn't want RGB, but the lighting is behind the tweeters on these. So there was no way to change them out to just white. I wanted to change it out to just white, but they just couldn't do it the way these are built. They are custom painted. So these came black. The shop, the Knockout Customs, or the guys that did the suspension, they did all of the paint work on the truck. So I took apart the speakers and sent the cans off to them, and they painted the cans to match the truck. They painted the front grills. Then they came back here, I reassembled them and put it all together. The bar is a DS18 brand bar. It's the only bar that I could find online, so that's what it is. I will warn anybody that gets it, there are no instructions, there's really nothing, and you think it'd be self-explanatory, but it really isn't. There's some weird quirks about them, but in the end, it all works out. That's his bed system. Now, I imagine you guys probably want to see it all lit up and maybe even want to hear it, so I'll try to find some royalty-free music, hopefully, and we can turn it up, and then I can be done with this truck. We're powered up. You can go down here, go ahead and flip on the audio lighting. You can look behind. Very nice, clean, very clean looking. And up here, we've got the sub control. So we've got our conductor right here. Go ahead and hit play.
Tears like rain run down a window. I repeat your name, losing your wisdom.
Sounds awesome. It's so clean. And now what you would do is flip the 6-channel amp on. We have the master volume up here. Turn that up, not all the way, but a little bit.
Tears like rain run down a window. I repeat your name, losing your wisdom. Tears like rain run down a window.
And we've system back here playing. And then if you want the full effect of the nighttime shots and how it would look, I'm done. This baby's gonna be out of here. The customer's gonna be picking it up, I believe, tomorrow morning. So this will be gone, and I'd like to apologize for disappearing on YouTube, for not putting up any videos, for not putting up any follow-ups. This vehicle basically took over my life, and I haven't spent time with any family. I haven't anything. I mean, we're at over 340 hours of labor. From the beginning, it's supposed to be one way, and then when it gets here, it turns into a complete separate. That's what sucked. I had a great analogy to try and explain to somebody what this truck was. Imagine somebody asked you to come over and to put in a light bulb. No big deal, man. Less than a minute, you'll have that light bulb in. Then when you get there to put the light bulb in, the electrical box is empty and there's no electrical in the house. So now you have to run all electric through the house, put switches in, put the fixtures in, get the electrical box all set, then you can finally put in that light bulb. That's what this thing is. I thought I was just putting in a light bulb, but I ended up having to wire the entire damn house. If anybody wants to ask any questions about it, I am gonna be a little protective of all the information because it is worth a lot of money, because it was 3.5 weeks just for me to identify everything in this vehicle, which equates to a lot of time and money, and just to give that away to just random people. And honestly, I want to make sure that people that do get the information are people that are going to know what to do with it, and not just tell people they can do the job because they think they have the information and something easy. Even with the information, you have to know a whole lot of things to make this all work. Want this thing like at a show, reach out. This guy is heavy doing shows. He wants to just take this to shows nonstop and with his kids and everything. So if you have a show or you have something you think you'd like to have this truck at, feel free to reach out. I will get the information to him. If you are any kind of publication, because I've got 4 magazines that I've already reached out wanting to do write-ups on this and photo shoots, feel free to reach out to me. I can line up for this to be set up for photo shoots and all that jazz. The main reason why this is kind of a big deal is this is a one of one, and this is the first one on the planet Earth. So this thing is proof that my old ass can still do these big bastards by myself, but I don't want to prove it anymore because I'm too old to do it anymore. So this is probably my last big one. Right now the customer's mad because he said he's got another one that he's dropping off, so I'm just lying. On to the next one. Thanks for watching.